I wanted to make this video right now because I make a lot of looksmaxxing videos to provide you an option that if your appearance is something that bothers you or you have no way to develop some self-esteem, at any point you can choose to worship the temple that is you. But I also want to clarify how much of appearance in society is a sham. And I think it's important to have a balance of putting effort in how you look, not looking like your struggle and all of that. And I found in my whole life, the more close I get to being completely ego-free, having this ego death online and being truly helpful with my advice, I feel less validation than when I simply try to be a pretty girl online with no thoughts. And I just wanted to be vulnerable that today was a day I was not feeling good about myself. And I think a lot of times it's more mental than physical. But sometimes you have a day where you look at yourself, and to me, I like to say it's the final straw, which is funny and sad, but I think that's a better way of wording it than saying, and I'm chopped. So many people look at themselves in the mirror on a bad day and they're like, and I'm chopped. But I think to say I looked in the mirror and it was a final straw is a more radical step you can take. Hear me out. I used to be friends with really girly girls who would spend a lot of time looking in the mirror and doing their makeup when we would hang out and go somewhere. And it made me really insecure because I was putting a lot more effort into my appearance than I normally do. But instead of just feeling good and going out and doing things that made me feel beautiful, I was like looking and doing my makeup, and they were doing their makeup and it was taking so long. And I was wondering, oh, I never noticed that, and I have a very foolproof advice tip for women about self-confidence. Don't look at yourself in the mirror for more than like 2 minutes. Because let's be honest, when does, say, a man that desires you, if he's looking at you in public, he's going to glance at you for like 2 seconds and decide if he thinks you're pretty or not. He's not going to be like, ooh, there's some pores on her nose. I thought she would, never mind. No, and you shouldn't do that to yourself either. But I wanted to clarify, when I was like a child, I needed braces and I didn't want to get them because I felt deep in my heart that there was no reason to get them. And I remember thinking, if I had a crooked nose, would I get a nose job? I didn't always have a crooked nose. My nose broke this year and I do have a crooked nose, and I hesitate to bring it up because I always feel like, you need to look smacks. You don't want people to know your insecurities. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the spring, but I felt so warm towards everything lately and so vulnerable. And I feel like after getting out of, toxic dating dynamics as well, it's very much apparent to me that you've got to love and you've got to be genuine. I've met so many people who are victims of their depression and trauma, and they take pride in being numb and wounded and just going on to be as bad as the people that harmed them. And I think ultimately, in order to heal and have something to live for, you've got to have some hope core. I think you've got to have some vulnerability and not be afraid to admit when something makes you insecure, even if it's stupid. I'm not afraid to set boundaries with my friends if it's something that I'm sensitive about, and I say all this to say, I think we have to have a very important balance where we understand that it's good to put effort in yourself, but there are also so many things society is going to make you feel insecure about that, in my opinion, are not valid. People will tell you if something is wrong with you, you need to get it fixed. But would we get a surgery purely for cosmetic reasons the same way it's so normalized to get braces for straightened teeth? I don't think so. Sometimes I feel worried that I broke my nose. My nose didn't look like this. It looked different. And this camera very much shows that. So I think this message will hit even more deeply. But I want to say, again, this exposure therapy, I encourage you guys to try. I used to be so insecure about my body before I went to the gym. I would always stand and think I could hide it. And really, it just came across as weird and not beautiful. Now, yes, I look a little bit different, but if I'm really bloated or I haven't been to the gym in weeks, I don't feel any insecurity because I know that nobody's truly looking at you that much. I know that my camera distorts my face, and sometimes when I watch my videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, my nose is not symmetrical. It used to be, but guess what? I still had my own insecurities about my nose then. I thought it was a goofy shape. Who really likes their nose at the end of the day? And I think it's something very important that you can identify all of the things that made you you are what have led you into this life, like the butterfly effect. You know, if you hadn't had that trauma, if you hadn't had those heartbreaks that made you insecure, where you say, I would just be so great if it weren't for this. But imagine if everything in your life were different, then you wouldn't be you. So I think it's really important to understand you're allowed to be sensitive about things. You're allowed to be a brat sometimes and, you know, have a little tantrum. But when you get over it, you need to remind yourself that there's nothing wrong with you and you are enough. You're put here because you're special. And I'm not even saying that in like a default, like you're enough kind of way. You genuinely are a random slot machine of traits and a phenotype that came together to make you you. That is a scientific marvel. When you see an animal out in the wild, you don't say, ew. You're like, oh, look at it. It's a little guy. You are a little guy. Like, everything that made you you is you. And that's why I think it's so important that we have started to celebrate alternative aesthetics in the beauty industry. I also think there's been a horrid pushback where we're once again glamorizing this famine chic and things of that nature. But, you know, 50% of me is like, oh, I could do my makeup, get a really good camera, and spout a bunch of BS on here. But I really think we need more people coming on here as they are. I mean, why are journalists seen as credible if they have dyed hair and perfectly done makeup? You know, what about your appearance makes you a more qualified speaker? We all have a portal to the entire world on our back pocket, and I'm supposed to do my full makeup and be the most aesthetically pleasing person you've ever seen in order to share a perspective that has some worth. Do you go to your, you know, hairdresser because of their looks? Do you go to your teacher because of their looks? People have so much expertise that it is above appearances. Yes, you can get into the gym and looksmaxxing to build confidence, and that is 100% what I've done. I could sit here on my high horse and talk about embracing my flaws because some of the most painful ones for me are things I no longer have to cope with. But I believe very strongly that when you truly understand what you've gone through, and the gym being an extension of that, where you might even be working out, putting discipline daily towards showing you love yourself, you know, never allowing a low effort friendship or relationship again, because at this point you are saying how much effort you put into you on the daily, and anything less from others around you would be just insulting. I really think we've got to have a good nuanced perspective when it comes to self-confidence. I wish I could sit here and give you guys a definitive answer, but these are the things that comfort me on a daily basis, knowing that, you know, it's not just you're enough or you need to get hotter, piggy, because I see a lot of videos like this lately from these little thin blonde white women as if that's never been done before. But I want to sit here and tell you, you know, my exposure therapy, I went off on a whole other tangent about that, but imagine the worst thing someone could say to you. You know, the elephant in the room. The whole time I've made YouTube videos, I've wondered if someone's going to comment, your nose is not symmetrical. If someone comments that on this video, it really can't get to me because I've said it. I think when you have an insecurity lurking that you're trying to hide from the world, like how I used to stand like this, you are truly at the most vulnerable state. It's like when you tell someone you're not ticklish and you sit like this. It's the weird paradox. This is why people get into looksmaxxing or attending the gym, because when you can show yourself off with pride, understand what you are, and not attach any mental pain to your physical appearance, you truly do become invincible and you become free. And that's the most beautiful thing of all. I hope you enjoy you, because I enjoy you and I enjoy me too.